What's good, everybody? This is Ryan Johnson with MoneyBass.com. All right, guys, back with another one, another Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. We get together each week, so make sure you catch these on the live, guys. We are currently live. Just a quick run through of what we will be getting into tonight. Of course, we are going to continue the debate or the discussion on the forward-facing sonar issue that has been continually going on within the fishing industry, guys. So there are going to be some changes from what we're hearing that are going to be occurring, guys. So what we're going to do tonight is just kind of touch bases with a few of the anglers that you guys all know and love, or maybe not. But I mean, of course, you know, we all have our favorites out there. So we're going to hear from a few guys and hear what they think is going to be coming down the pipeline. And also want to make sure you guys continue to get active in the chat. This is a live and interactive show. So what I do is I mix it up and I bring up some of you guys from the chat, from the viewers. I will drop a call-in link. And what that allows you to do is come up on the screen with me. I will share the screen with you. And just make sure you are cammed up, meaning your camera is on, your lighting is good, and we'll do a quick mic check, and we will be able to hear you voice your opinion on the topic. The other thing that we do is drop maybe one or two polls this evening, and that is just to gauge the room to see what your thoughts are and who is actually watching, to see, you know, maybe things are leaning one way or the other, but just kind of a way to gauge the audience. All right, guys. So the other thing that we do, I will bring up a few video clips. Once we take a look at those, I will hop into the chat and see what your thoughts and opinions are of those. So, of course, we will be hearing tonight from Milliken. I have a clip or two that I'll be playing from that. Then, of course, we will get into the, you know, the angler of the century. I mean, the guy that everybody knows, Kevin VanDam, has now spoken out and, you know, kind of spoke his piece on Mike Iaconelli's podcast. So we're going to take a look at that too, guys. So just bear with me. What I'm going to do is just make sure the Facebook crew is up and running. Just have to do some housekeeping each week before we get started, guys. So just bear with me. Like I said, this is a live show. So as you come into the chat, make sure you hit the like button and also introduce yourselves in the chat, because you never know who is watching and who you may be able to network with in the chat, guys. All right, so here we go. All right, there we go. All right, big shout out to the Facebook crew. You guys are live and in action now. And one more thing, and then we'll get straight into those video clips. All right, so here we go. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen. And once I do that, then we're going to take a listen to see what Kevin VanDam himself has to say about this topic that we've been discussing. And I mean, it's kind of heating up a little bit, guys. But let's go ahead and take a listen. Hold on one second. Here we go, guys. All right, so let's listen in to see what Kevin VanDam had to say about this topic.
With the forward-facing sonar, it's changed all that. It's changed the way we think at it, and I think that a lot of the viewing public doesn't really understand it, because if you haven't spent a lot of time around it, you can't understand it and exactly what it is. But there's a lot of great videos out there, and there's a lot of people that's all that they do. And you know, there's restrictions in every sport on the equipment. And you know, in any other sport, I don't know that I've seen technology be a bigger factor in. I mean, it's not in golf. It could be in NASCAR, and the leagues shut that down real quick. You know, NASCAR changed that, you know, for a reason. And we don't hunt. You can't, like, thermals are great to use for hunting, but you know, for hogs that are just nocturnal, or coyotes that are, you know, they're effective for that, but you know, we don't use them to deer hunt, you know, things like that. And we don't use electronic collars for mallards and things like that. You know, it's so there's things where technology, and believe me, I'm not a hypocrite.
All right, so let's stop for a second right there, guys. So one of the things that he is mentioning is, well, it's something that we've heard a lot as far as the comparisons to hunting, to golf, to baseball, those type of things, and the advancements in technology. But for me, whenever I think of Kevin VanDam, for me, I remember seeing how he was dominating using side imaging and using his electronics, and that's kind of what I would say was part of my inspiration to get better with those things, because, you know, we want to be like those pros. We want to get out there and get those same results. So what do you guys, whenever you think of Kevin VanDam and him coming through the ranks, does anybody else kind of relate him to somebody that was kind of ahead of the curve with using technology? But like I said, this is a live and interactive show, so make sure you guys continue to participate in the chat. And the other thing, I did mention that we do drop polls during this live stream so that we can gauge the room to see who we have watching. And what I'll do now is just bear with me. Like I said, this is a live show, guys. I'm going to put the first poll up, and the purpose of this is to gauge the room. And for you guys watching this on the replay, I will read the poll out to you to kind of keep you up to date, because you may not be able to see the actual poll that we are referring to. But the first question that we're going to ask is, forward-facing sonar, do you want it banned, limited, or just have no restrictions? And again, this is so we can gauge the room to see how this discussion this evening will go, guys. So forward-facing sonar, do you want... All right. All right, guys. All right. And what I'm doing is just going to make this quick and simple. The options are going to be banned, which we know there are a lot of people on that side of things. And then some people, you know, they see that there are some limitations that are needed. And of course, there are people that are out here that say no restrictions. Let it ride. There haven't been restrictions so far on these electronics to an extent. So no restrictions. All right. So that poll is live and in action. And again, if you could, as you come into the chat, first hit that like button. It really does help the channel, and participate in that poll. I will come back to this poll in just 1 second, guys. So like I was mentioning in the chat, whenever you guys think of Kevin VanDam, do you kind of relate him to electronics, or is that kind of like a separate thing? You see him as kind of the old school, from the old school realm, or is it kind of like a middle school is what I would call it? He's not way old school to where they did not use electronics at all, because I kind of remember him kind of being at the forefront of the side imaging whenever that came out, guys. All right, and I'll hop into the chat in just a minute, but let's finish listening and hear what else he had to say about that. All right, here we go, guys.
Because I have been a beneficiary in my career of a lot of technology, of side imaging, of Mega 360, of Lake Master mapping, of you know, down imaging, you know, just technology's always been a big part of it. But this, it seems and feels different, and I don't think I'm wrong. You and I, we've talked about this multiple times. And
all right, so I want to play that part again, because he did state that he was, you know, deep into the electronics game. Let's just listen to how he worded it again, guys.
Be a bigger factor in, I mean, it's not in golf. It could be in NASCAR, and they, you know, the leagues shut that down real quick. You know,
Right.
NASCAR changed that, you know, for a reason. And, you know, we don't hunt. You can't, like, thermals are great to use for hunting, but, you know, for hogs that are just nocturnal, or coyotes that are, you know, they're effective for that, but, you know, we don't use them to deer hunt, you know,
Right.
things like that. And
Right.
we don't use electronic collars for mallards and things like that. You know, it's so there's things where technology, and believe me, I'm not a hypocrite, because I have been a beneficiary in my career of a lot of technology, of side imaging, of Mega 360, of Lake Master mapping, of you know, down imaging, you know, just technology's always been a big part of it. But
all right, so he did state that. So side imaging, 360, sonar, all of those forms of electronics. So for me, what I remember is Kevin VanDam being one of the people that was able to dominate using those electronics. And I see, shout out to the Money Team. We have Joe Winkler checking in. What does Joe say? He says, like, how many years did the GOAT have side imaging before it was released to other competitors? And so I don't know if that's necessarily a rumor or if that is fact, because I've heard the same thing too, guys. So there may be somebody that has confirmation someplace that maybe he did have access to technology, before other people had it. Right now, what we're talking about is technology that everyone actually has access to. But let me just read through that. Joe Winkler says, like, how many years did the GOAT have side imaging before it was released to other competitors? How many years did we watch the GOAT stop and turn around and cast to the fish that was holding on a stump? All right, so that to me kind of blends in with the conversation that we're having. So at the time, side imaging, and I remember when that came out, that was a game changer, guys. There are people that may not have been quite as good at that technology, but it gave someone that was not only had it, but could use it way better than the other ones that had it, gave them a big advantage, especially in the offshore game. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying in here in the chat. And I'll hop back over here into the video in just a second, guys. All right, so let's see. Stephen Dorsey, shout out to the Money Team once again. And for anybody that is just tuning in, the Money Team, those are the members of the channel. If you are interested in supporting the channel, becoming a member, the link is in the description and also pinned to the top of the chat. And it's also the join button. So just click that. It'll give you a little bit of information of what it means to be a member of the Money Team. All right. So Stephen Dorsey says, definitely old school. All right. So he says Kevin VanDam is definitely old school. He wasn't that great with Livescope. He is definitely a power fisherman. All right. So I do agree with that. And so when I think of old school, was he in the same era as, say, Greg Hackney? I know he's definitely way after Rick Clunn, but there's kind of like maybe a true old school. Then we can have like a middle school, maybe, guys, and then the new school. So for me, I would say Kevin VanDam was in the era of electronics like sonar, down scan, side scan, those type of things. But in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong if you disagree with that. And on this channel, hey, we have people here that have differences of opinions. Somebody may see something this way. Somebody may see it a little this way. Then we have people in between. But hey, maybe we can learn something from each other. Just exchange some thoughts and ideas whenever we're having these discussions, guys. All right, so let's see. What else are you guys saying in here? All right, so shout out to another member of the Money Team. We have TC12 says KVD was killing it with side imaging. Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. He was making things happen out there. All right. And let's see. Hold on. Did I skip somebody? What does Dan say? Dan says KVD said it. If you don't have or use it, you don't understand it. Truth. Unlikely Randy block it. And okay. So yeah, so we know Randy does not use it. And actually, we'll hear a little bit from Randy Blockett also. If you guys can remember, I did have him on the show and we had a very interesting conversation. But I do have, a few things that he had to say about that as recent as today. All right, so shout out to Spooky Reds. Okay, he says ban it. Get rid of it. So make sure you participate in that poll so that we can make sure you are counted. And really appreciate your comment. All right, let's see. All right. I'm just scanning the chat real quick, guys. I do like to get input from the members of the chat because the live stream builds off of the input from you guys. It is always interesting to hear, what you guys have to say. All right, let's see. All right, big shout out to a new member of the Money Team. We have Big Will reeling and chilling checking in. He says Big Will in the house. All right, so yes, chime in. Let us know what you think about this topic. All right, let's see. CT, shout out to CT. He says NASCAR is different. It's safety. Why can't anyone see that? All right, so yeah, he doesn't quite see it the same as Kevin VanDam on this one. All right, let's see. So Mac is not quite a Milliken fan. He says Milliken would argue with his mama to keep his forward-facing sonar. Sadly, he comes off, okay, yes, you don't really like him too. He's not a Milliken fan, But hey, we all have our favorites out here, guys. But yeah, I mean, so definitely Milliken, I mean, with those big swim baits, and he is known, especially once he came over into the professional scene, he's known more of a forward-facing sonar guy because of the things that he was able to do with the forward-facing sonar fishing offshore and catching fish on those big swim baits and glide baits. All right, so I'm just checking the chat again, just scanning through here, guys. Like I said, make sure you get active and participate in that poll, and I'll be right back to that. But right now, let's see what else we have in the chat. All right, so Max says he realizes tech that shows fish and lures in real time is just too much. It's just too much. But Mac, remember on the last live stream, I showed you how the actually sonar, before forward-facing sonar was out, the actual sonar still was live, still is live. It still has live imaging on there. All right, so Bible Belt Fishing says, why have restrictions? If banned, 360 has to go. Get rid of it all. Oh yeah. So people, like I said, people may see the tradition of fishing and have different explanations or different viewpoints on that. So if anybody, wants to hop in the chat and just put in there, what do you consider traditional fishing? Because Bible Belt Fishing says it all has to go. You need to just be out there with your maps. You don't need any of those electronics to show your true skill. All right, what does Adam say? Adam says, if we restrict forward-facing sonar to one unit, like they said, all these guys will do is get a 30-inch screen with a four-way split. So what would be different on how many are up front? It would all, let me see, it would be, wait a second, it would have to be all. Okay, all right. Mixing me up a little bit. All right, so basically what you're saying is, even if they just dropped it to one forward-facing sonar, they could still put a big screen up front and run it on on a split screen, but you would still only have that one viewpoint of forward-facing sonar. And that, I'll put that as a poll question too, because how many forward-facing sonars do you think that it actually takes in order for someone that can really use it? And that how many does it take for them to be able to dominate with forward-facing sonars? Because as we know right now, there are people out there running as many as 6 from what I last heard, which is, it's kind of getting up there. All right, let's see what else you guys are talking about in here. All right, let's see, guys. All right, shout out to the Money Team once again. We have DL Peck Fishing checking in. Make sure you guys go and check out his channel. Strong supporter of the channel. What? Oh, wait a minute. We have to stop the show. Big shout out to Stephen Evans. I hope I'm saying that right. Is it Stephen or Stephen? We'll go with Stephen unless you correct me. But he has gifted 1 MoneyBass membership. And also what that does is make him the sponsor of tonight's live stream. Whoever gives the highest super chat, super sticker, or gives memberships to the channel, that will be the sponsor of the live stream. So let me just go ahead and do a little work. So just bear with me. I have to update the banner, and I will show you guys exactly what that means in just a second. All right, so now if you take a look at the bottom of the screen, you will see the banner now reads, special thank you so much to the sponsor of the stream, Stephen Evans. He has gifted a membership to a member, or well, to a viewer of this live stream. And if you were the lucky recipient of that, give him a shout out. Just go ahead and say thank you, Stephen, for, hooking me up. We like to show a little Southern hospitality down here whenever someone does a good deed. So he is helping out the members of the chat. So really, really appreciate that. All right, let's see, guys. All right, so Adam says, you said he cast it at a stump. You don't think KVD didn't know that tree was there after months of pre-fishing? Oh yeah. He's going to use that 360 to line up with that stump and make that cast accurate on that first cast. All right, so let's see. Black USC says, sure isn't helping the boys on the Kissing Me chain. All right, yeah, it gets tough out there. Adam says, let's talk more about YouTube streamers getting spots in info from off limits from fans. I've kind of heard, a little bit about that discussion. But the thing you have to keep in mind is it done within the rules and the guidelines? So Adam, just put a response in the chat. Just put yes, it was done within the rules, or no, you're speaking of someone who is breaking the rules. All right, so shout out to Darren Pearson. He says he is in the era with Randy Blockett. Okay, well, okay, I was thinking Randy Blockett was kind of ahead of KVD. All right, so Mac says he sees the line being crossed. Milliken, he would never disagree to lose his crutch. All right. So Mac is not quite a Milliken fan. All right, so shout out to Pat. He says limit to 1 transducer or unlimited transducers, but you can only use them to practice. Okay, so Pat is saying no tournament fishing with live imaging. All right, so Pat, do you have live imaging, or are you planning on getting it? Let's see where you stand on that. All right, and one other thing, guys, let's just do a quick check-in on that poll for anybody that is catching this on the replay and may not be able to see the actual poll. That poll question is, let's see, let me get that up again. Okay, so forward-facing sonar, do you want it to be banned, limited, or have no restrictions? All right, so this is the crowd that we have here this evening, guys. 29% of you are saying banned. Get it out of here. We do not need it. And some of you may just be referring to tournament fishing, but others of you are saying recreational and everything. But right now, we're just going to go with the 29% are saying banned. We have 41% are saying limited. All right, so that looks like that is taking the cake right there. And then 31% are saying no restrictions, just let it ride. So if you total those up, we have 71% in total that are okay with it being there, but either have no limitations or maybe have some limitations on it. And for those of you that are saying that there should be limitations, in the chat, what limitations do you think there should be on forward-facing sonar? All right, let's drop this poll down and get that next poll going, and then we're going to hop back into the video, guys. All right, so the next poll that we're going to have is, how many forward-facing transducers does it take to dominate? So if someone is out there and they really know how to use the technology, do they really need 6 transducers? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? So let me just drop this in here real quick. All right, so we'll keep it simple. We'll go with 1. It may only take 1. Some people may say 2 because you need 1 forward facing and 1 facing landscape mode. All right, then somebody may say it takes 3. They need 1. They need 1 back on that transom so they can scan. And then we will go with the final option will be 4 plus. So 4 or more is what it will take to actually dominate and be a game changer. Just set you apart to where you're just blowing the field away. So that poll is live and in action. Like I said, I see a few more people checking in. Welcome to the live stream. We're on here, just going over a few thoughts and ideas and just exchanging some thoughts on the whole forward-facing sonar topic once again, because this is not something that is going to go away anytime soon, even once those changes come out and we hear about those. Of course, there are going to be people who disagree with some of those things. Some people are going to think that maybe it didn't go far enough. Some people may think that it went too far. So who knows, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be getting some updates on that soon. And the other thing that makes this important, guys, is because sometimes these changes that are done at the higher levels now begin to affect things all the way down to maybe even club tournaments, guys. So it may start at the elites and at the Bassmaster, at the MLF, at that level, but now it may be down to your local tournaments, the open tournaments, all the way down to club tournaments, guys. So that's kind of why everybody has some type of input or thoughts that they want to, put out there about it. And some people are just here just to, I want to see what's going on, that kind of thing. All right, let's see. So Ron says, let's just go overboard with multiple screens and transducers. Let's not 2 transducers and 3 screens. Okay, all right. And let's see. Let's hop down here, guys. See what you guys are talking about. Wait a minute. We have to stop the show. We have Maggie, the substitute teacher, stepping in. She says, just showing support for the consistency. Oh, yeah. And Maggie, that really, really does mean a lot, because tonight I've been running so much, guys. I was thinking like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it tonight, but hey, I was like, I have to be there for my people. So I decided to go ahead and step in. But big shout out to Maggie, the substitute teacher. And actually, I need to go back up here and put some respect on the sponsor of the live stream's name. So currently we have Stephen Evans. He is the sponsor of tonight's live stream. He gifted a membership. So I'm just looking to see who received that gifted membership. But big shout out to you, and big shout out to Maggie, the substitute teacher. So really, really appreciate that. All right. And hold on 1 second. Let's get back over here to the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and listen in and see what else Kevin VanDam had to say. And right after that, we're going to hear from Ben Milliken, guys. All right, so just bear with me. Bring that back up. All right, here we go, guys. Let's see what else Ben Milliken had. Let's see what else Kevin VanDam had to say.
It just it seems and feels different, and I don't think I'm wrong. You and I, we've talked about this multiple times, and
yeah,
I'm with you. Something we've got to do something, because there's a lot of the fan base that is just like, hey, saying it is too much. It is.
Yes.
It's
something has to give. Something has to give. And I love the analogies because I think they're great analogies. I think that other sports have had these things happen, and they had to deal with it to keep the sport going in an upward direction, right? So I think that's where we're at for sure. And I think something will happen. I have a feeling something will happen for sure. I do want to jump back, and this is
all right. So let's go ahead and drop that down. So it seems as though there are a lot of people that are agreeing that something is going to happen. One of the questions that I'm kind of curious about is when we think about KVD and the domination, whenever the 360, the side imaging, whenever those things came out, the anglers at that time that were against that technology and against those steps, what would the discussion be between those old school anglers and the old school anglers in the Kevin VanDam and Mike Iaconelli realm? What do you think those anglers that were saying, hey, I told you guys that we should not be using sonar and side scan and 360, and they were okay with using that? And now these two are more than likely banding together. The old school and the mid school is what I'll call it. They're banding together against forward-facing sonar. But there were people, like Kevin VanDam said, that benefited from those advancements in technology with the side imaging, 360, sonar, those type of things. Like I said, I wonder what that conversation would be. How do they now justify telling the new school guys that they don't need the technology when that is now their advancements? So the new school guys have their advancements. The mid school guys had their advancements that the old school guys did not agree with, but they went ahead with the sonar, the side scan, those type of things. So to me, it's just an interesting conversation, because as much as a game changer as forward facing sonar is now, for someone that could use sonar, downscan, side imaging, and 360, as opposed to someone that could not use that technology or was not that well versed in it, it would still like be a very big, it would just be unbalanced is the way that I see it, guys. But like I said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So make sure you continue to hop in the chat and get active. All right. So the next thing that we're going to take a listen to is what Ben Milliken had to say. Oh yeah, Millikens, he had some things that he wanted to say about this topic. So just bear with me once again as I get that queued up, guys. This is a live show. Just want to say welcome to everybody for tuning in on another Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern is how we do this. Each week, we get together and talk about different topics. And I also do on the water live streams, guys. So I am an electronics guy, as a lot of you know. So I do go out on the water. I'll do different tutorials and things like that live. The same way you see me in the studio, I'll be out there on the water. So I try to do things to bring value to you guys each week, whether it's doing these live streams, we can discuss different thoughts and opinions on topics, or we are out on the water actually fishing, using different lures, testing out bait tracking with different types of equipment. And also, I always try to bring value to you guys by dropping links in the description anytime I have products or different things that I think will just help out with safety on the water, or just help you enjoy your day on the water a little better. And speaking of that, one of the things that I wanted to do is the solar bat sunglasses that you guys heard me speaking of. There's a lot of different frames and tints, things like that you have. One of my favorites that I use with my electronics is the high vis yellow. That makes a very big difference with the screens. And if you guys saw me on my last live, I did show you some shots from my Mega Live. I do run Humminbird systems, and this is just another frameless version right there. And like I said, there are a lot of different options. Just make sure that you always use the discount code MoneyBass. You will get free shipping. And right now you will get 25% off of your selection. There's a lot of good selections, and it is time, that summertime, summer heat, that brightness is on its way. Well, it's already here, but you do want to protect your eyes, guys. So a good pair of shades, just make sure you go to the link in the description, goes to solarbat.com, and use the code MoneyBass. Do not forget that code, because that will give you a big discount and it will get you free shipping, guys. All right, so discount code MoneyBass on everything. All right, so now the next thing that we were going to take a look at is what Ben Milliken had to say about this topic. Now, who thinks he is going to agree and who thinks he is going to disagree with what Kevin VanDam had to say about this topic? All right, so let's listen to a little of what Milliken had to say. And once we do that, then I will come back and hop back into the chat with you guys. All right, hold on one second. All right, here we go, guys.
Elite Series angler, Ben, in 20.
And real quick, this clip is from Bass Talk Live, BTL. We have Matt Pangrat, guys. Great show. Comes on every morning. So I'm always watching in. I'm tuning in. I'm a fan of that podcast. One of the top podcasts out here on YouTube, guys. So make sure you check it out. That is where this clip is coming from. So let's listen in and hear a little about their discussion that they had.
25, when the first cast is made, what do you think the electronics limitations will be, if any? And then part B, in your opinion, what do you think they should be or shouldn't be?
I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a set number of inches you can have on your boat. The, chatter has been 60 inches, I believe I've heard from people. And then I think 2 forward-facing transducers wherever you want them on your boat is what I personally think it'll be.
All right, so there we go. 2 transducers. More than likely, they are going to use one in forward mode and the other one in landscape mode. And what we had discussed before is how some people have up to 6 transducers. They are running a forward mode on the front and a landscape mode. There's some guys that have one, actually, we have 2 Livescope transducers or 2 forward-facing sonars at their console. So as they're driving, they can actually control that by hand. So we did see a video where Kyle Welcher kind of demonstrated that to us. And then there are additional anglers that have 2 transducers on the transom. So instead of running side scan using the traditional side scan method, they are using their forward-facing sonars, live imaging, to scan to scan what they're seeing out there. So it's a means of just speeding up the process of scouting out, finding cover, structure, and fish. So that's what these guys are doing. So the poll question that we had, let me just bring that back up real quick, because this kind of goes in line with the topic of how many transducers does it take. So that question is, and let's see, you guys are getting active in there. So how many forward-facing transducers are needed to dominate, to change the landscape of this whole fishing thing that we're talking about? How many are really needed? Do you need 6 transducers? So right now we have 51% of you are saying 1. All you need is 1 forward-facing sonar and it's game over. It's a game changer. All you need is 1. So we have 23% are saying that it takes 2. So 23% of you, I'm pretty sure you guys are referring to, you need that forward mode and you need that landscape mode. And we know once you combine both of those together, that is a killer combination. All right, then we have 15% are saying 3, and we're at 12% are saying that you need 4 or more to dominate. So I'll go ahead and tell you guys, for me on this one, I think all you need is 1. There are ways that 1 transducer out there is being used by these guys that the average fisherman just does not even realize. And for me, one of the things that I picked up on is if you watch Fish the Moment with Johnny, I mean, he's been in the chat, a few times too. So he's a friend of the channel. But whenever I saw him out chasing schools of bait fish, he was not casting. He was one of the first people that I saw fishing offshore that way and following just when maybe 1 or 2 fish, key fish that he would follow around and eventually get those fish to bite. That style of fishing, of using your forward facing sonar is just a game changer. I've tried it, and that is not easy. It is not an easy thing to do, guys. But the people that can get out there and dominate with that have that patience, that can follow these fish around, not making cat. I mean, they may follow a fish around for 30, 40 an hour, but all they need is 5 of those 5, 6, 7, 8 pound fish class guys. I mean, class fish. So yeah, so that technique, I think one forward facing sonar is really all that you need when you're, especially when you're at that level and you have as much time on the water, well, access to time on the water as they do, guys, because they're doing it as a profession. But let's listen in and hear what else Milliken had to say.
And so, I mean, to me, I'm honestly like, I'm kind of happy about it. I don't really like this arms race, especially as we're about to head north to the bumpy water. It's become a hassle just to like strap your stuff down, make sure things aren't broken, and just manage all of your equipment, manage your battery power going to what units. You know, that's, to me, that's really the only thing that you know, makes me want to limit any of it, is because it gets to the point where you have to have so much battery power, you have to have so many batteries to power these units and deal with them, you know, having the opportunity to break off and more things going wrong. But as far as what I feel should be right in everything, I don't think personally at the top level of bass fishing that there should be any restriction on anything.
Whoa. He said he doesn't think there should be any restriction on anything. All right. So on that last poll, we have some people that agree with that. So, wow. So no restrictions on anything. You know, it's the Wild West out there. You get out there and just go for what you know. Whoever can bring in, like he said, the arms race. And I told you guys maybe 2, 3, 4 months ago that I'm tapping out. Once I saw that boat that had, what was it? He had 7 screens and he had six forward facing sonars on his boat. I was like, hey, I'm not even going to try to compete with that. I mean, I'm not competing at that elite level anyway. So, hey, I'm tapping out. I can get out here, do what I do, and have fun with just my one little puny forward facing sonar transducer. That's all I need. You know, I can get out here and have some fun with that so I can use it when I want, not use it whenever I don't want to, guys. So that's all I need. So I'm out of that arms race that he was referring to. All right, let's hop back into the chat real quick and see what you guys are saying in here. And once I get kind of behind, like I can see that I have in the chat, I try to at least go through here and pull up the members of the money team. But let me give a quick big shout out to Stephen Evans. He gifted a MoneyBass membership. So we have a new member of the money team that is currently in the chat. If you are the recipient of that, make sure you have gave Stephen a proper shout out and thank you. And the members of the money team, which are the members of the channel, for anybody that does not know, make sure you welcome that new member to the channel. Just give them a shout out in the chat also. All right, so let's hop into the chat and see what the sentiment is in here. All right. Wait a minute. Darren Pearson, think about this. All right, so another form of technology. So they do say that the HydroWave is a game changer. That is the way that it is marketed, right? So is that the truth or is it not the truth? Because if that is the truth, what Darren Pearson is saying is Kevin VanDam also had HydroWave before anyone. So I do not know that to be a fact, but I would say that it does have his name on it. So I'm pretty sure he was in the part of the testing process. And whenever they have prototype baits or any type of prototype equipment coming out, I don't think that they limit it. That they disallow that being used by an angler if they are the only one that has access to that technology. So think about that. Whenever we have, let's say, the next big thing that comes out outside of forward-facing sonar, and those anglers that are the ones that test the prototypes, the beta versions, all that kind of stuff, whatever that technology is, they have access to that where other anglers may not have access to that. So is that fair? Is, in the fairness of what we're talking about. So when anglers have access to technology that others don't, what do you guys think about that? Because what we are talking about now with forward-facing sonar, they all do have access to that. So it is not something that is limited to only certain anglers. All right, let's see what else we have in here. All right. All right. So we have some non-Milliken fans. Let's see what Adam has to say. He says Milliken is a bigger crybaby than Randy. He makes lame memes about Randy, tries to bully him. And let's see. Just let the guy have his opinion. He looks like an extreme childish hater. All right. I'll say, hey, you know, we're out here having some fun with some things, guys. So yeah, I mean, but I've had Milliken on the show. He's been on here, and I've had Randy on here. So I mean, I think it's all, to me, all part of the game, guys. So both of them are kind of taking jabs at each other at times. But I mean, like I said, it's all part of the game. Even me and my fellow fishermen out here, whenever we get together, we're kind of going at it sometimes. Some people may see us and think that we're not actually friends by the way that we talk to each other. But let me do this, guys. Like I said, this is a live and very interactive show. So what I'm going to do now is drop the call-in link. So if you want to come up and voice your opinion on the topic that we are discussing, just click the link. Make sure you are cammed up, meaning that your camera is on and the lighting is good. I'll do a quick audio check, and then we will, I will listen in and see what you have to say. I'll give you a minute or two to kind of speak your piece. Then I'll drop you down and bring the next person up. All right. So this is the call-in link. It will be in the chat, guys. All right, so the call-in link is in the chat. All right, so what I'm going to do is just hop back in here into the chat after I check this poll. But, all right, I know you guys do not like it whenever I'm checking my likes. But it's all part of the show, guys. I have to do it. I have to do it. YouTube is like, hey, MoneyBass, what's going on with your likes? If the people don't like you, then we don't either. If the people like you, we don't either. All right, so let's see. Let me just check my likes real quick. Then we'll continue on in just a second, because I know you guys have to be taking care of me with my likes, right? Let's see. Where are we at? Okay, all right. They're looking kind of decent. All right, you guys are taking care of me tonight. But if you have not hit the like button, please just take a quick second and hit it. The like is free. The like button is free, guys. So really appreciate that. All right, so like I said, we are at the segment where I have dropped the call-in link. So I see somebody backstage. They are cammed up, looking good right there, and they have a few things that they want to say. So let's see, who do we have? Let's drop this down. Who do we have here? Shout out to Bible Belt Fishing. How are you doing, sir?
Good. What is going on?
All right. So everything looks good, sounds good. Everything's going pretty good. So what do you have? What's on your mind this evening?
Well, first of all, I love the show. I started watching it because Big Jim always talks about you.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, Big Jim is definitely a friend of the channel.
Plus, I've been on his plenty of times, and I'm also here in Nashville area in Tennessee as well.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good deal.
My whole thing is people just need to stop crying about forward-facing sonar. Like you already said, they use 360. All right. It's almost the same exact thing now as what it is, but it's sped up a little faster. That's all it is.
Right.
Newer technology. So if they could use the 360 then, you can lose forward-facing sonar now. There ain't no reason to take this stuff away. So if you take that away, you got to take 360 away. Take everything away. Just give them maps. And if you want to do it that way, just give them maps. That's it, to be safe.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty cut and dry. So you're saying take it all or take nothing, basically.
It's just simple. They were able to use it then, and they got the advantage back then.
Right.
But now they're getting whooped by these guys that are using forward-facing sonar. They can't handle it, so now we got to take it away.
So
no, I mean, like...
Yeah, so and that's kind of what I was referring to a little earlier. So whenever they did come out with sonar and down scan and side scan and 360, all of those things, there obviously were people that adapted quickly and were able to use that to their advantage. There were some people that were left behind and had big complaints about they do not feel that that is real fishing and we should not take those steps. So now some of those, the side imaging sonar 360 era are now against the forward facing sonar era. But I look at that as the new technology for the new school anglers. That is their sonar or side imaging. So what do you think that conversation is like from the guys that were accepting the side scan and that, you know, that era of electronics and use that to their advantage, when there were people that were telling them like, hey, think about the future. You should not be using that now because what's going to be next? And so now they see what's next and they're not necessarily agreeing with it. So what do you think that conversation is like between the mid school and the old school guys now?
Well, the same exact way as what Milliken said now is what VanDam said back then. Exactly the same stuff. Well, it's new like technology. Well, he had it first. He got really good at it, won a lot of tournaments. So all these younger kids are getting this stuff and they're winning tournaments. And now the older generation cannot keep up. Like I got two on. I got two on my boat.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you have a forward facing and a landscape?
Yes.
Okay.
I have that on my Falcon. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And so how do you like running two of those like that?
I love it. But at the same exact time, I can also go to a river setting, keep it, and I can float down the river, have it shooting out in front of me, and I can see where they're at, and I can just throw baits at them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what people fail to realize is you remember all the people years ago that beat the bank, where'd all the fish go? Out deep, right?
Right.
After time, your bigger fish went out deep. Where do you think these fish are going to go after they get beat up out deep? They're going to go back shallow again. No one's fishing shallow.
Right.
All it's going to do is take its course.
Okay. Yeah. And actually for this season, the first, I think 2 tournaments that I fished this season, I stayed shallow. I mean, I only have one forward facing sonar and I run Mega Live on mine, but I did catch my fish shallow throwing a spinner bait and I think a crankbait on the other one. So for me, it was, kind of fun to, head back to the bank and being able to go either on shallow or offshore. Kind of, can pick whichever one you want. But as long as you have both of those skill sets, then you can enjoy the benefit of both. But if you're kind of stuck with either, like some people are saying, some guys are limited, their experience is only offshore, or some people's may only be shallow, then they're kind of limiting themselves. But
right now the biggest bags are coming shallow. You have to look at it this way. So forward-facing sonar is out of it right now, especially here in Tennessee. But now people complain about watching them staring at a screen. Okay, well, guess what? Now we're watching these guys flip a jig. All right, we're watching them bed fish, staring down at fish. So what's the difference between staring down at that fish on a bed or 20 feet below? It's the same thing. You're still staring down.
Right.
Know what I mean? So it's like you can't have one way but not have the other way. So it's bed fishing time. What does everyone do? You're standing on stuff. You got people standing on trolling motors, you know what I mean? Trying to get that height so they can see.
Right.
Well, what's the difference of me staring down at my screen? I'm still staring down at something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it good? I like it. Does it help sometimes? Yeah, but I still catch my biggest bass shallow. Chatterbait, you know what I mean? Frog right now. Forward facing sonar does nothing for me right now.
So how well would you say, like your skill on a 1 to 10, 10 being top notch, where would you say your skill level is with using forward facing sonar?
10, no. I'd say probably about 6. Like I can go out and my friends get mad because I can go out on his boat and he has a Garmin and I'm a huge Lowrance guy. Okay. So I have to have the target too. And he's like, I can't get this fish to bite. And I said, watch this. And I can cast out and I can normally get him.
Okay. Okay. So that's definitely above average then. So that being said, one of the things that another topic that is being mentioned is that people are using that with, like, say, a jerk bait out in open water, snagging the fish. What do you think the chances of someone doing that are?
I could see it happening. I could see him doing that, but like, what's the point of that? Like, I understand, you know what I mean? Because you got people putting weights in fish's mouth. So,
right.
Who says that they're not going to do that?
So do you think, like, do you think that is something like if you went out and you were spending a day out there and that is your goal, using what you have seen and what you know how to do you think you would be able to go out and do that, to go out and snag fish with say a jerkbait out in open water? If you're fishing, say 30 to 50 feet of water and you're targeting those individual fish.
If they get close enough and you're watching them about, to come up to it instead of just looking at it and turning away, I can maybe give a real hard jerk and maybe get them in the side.
Okay.
All right. Like, so it'll be close. Like, I wouldn't put my paycheck on it. I wouldn't do that.
So you wouldn't dedicate your tournament day to going out trying to?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Like right now, a tournament day, like I got one Saturday because we had Dale Hollow a couple weeks ago. It'll be shallow for your big or anything. Just pick up 5 and go, looking shallow. Stumps, frog, popper, walking bait, and that's it. I'm shallow. I ain't even using forward-facing sonar. I haven't touched it in a month.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a time and a place for it. I mean, the majority of fishing, depending where you're at in the country, I mean, I'm in Tennessee, so they're going to spawn earlier. You're going to have people in New York, but then there's times where you're going to have your, Dale Hollow. Dale Hollow is a tough fishery. I don't know if you fished it. Big Jim's fished it, and the pros have fished it. Like if you watched the last one, they're deep. You have the majority of your fish are down around 40 feet. So without having that electronics, I mean, it's pretty tough.
Okay. All right. So so interesting information. I'm glad you came up, sir. You are welcome back anytime. Come on up and voice your thoughts and opinions on it. All right. And really appreciate you supporting the show. All right, guys, that is Bible Belt Fishing. Really appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, guys. So so that is how the call-in segment works. So the link is in the description. If anybody else wants to come up and speak their piece. And I did notice that Mac had a comment in here. I didn't see it. I lost it, Mac. But you were saying something about someone coming up and speaking that may not be for facing sonar. So the link is open to this show is open for everybody. So whether you agree with it or disagree, always feel free to hit that link cam up, and I will bring you up so we can hear your thoughts and opinions on it, because not everyone is going to see eye to eye on things. Somebody may see this side of things, somebody may see this side, but there's a chance that you may learn something or not. Some people are gonna go away with what they came with. All right, but hey, we always put it out there. All right, and we have to stop the show. We have Stephen Evans back at it again. Hit the channel with a $5 super chat. Really, really appreciate the strong support of the channel. And actually, I don't have to go in and do any work on this one, because if you take a look at the bottom of the screen, it already reads, special thank you so much to the sponsor of tonight's live stream, Stephen Evans. All right, so whoever gives the largest super chat or super sticker during the live stream is the sponsor of that live stream, guys, because this channel is supported by you, the viewers of this channel. All right, so what does Stephen say? He says, seems like the solution would be adding an old school division. You got the old schoolers, the old timers out there. You got the old timer division out there. Yeah, I mean, that does seem as though it would be a simple solution, but I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's almost in a sense separating them from the upper level, because now it may be looked at as though if you can't compete over here, then you're relegated to competing over here. You're just not going to keep up with things. So yeah, I mean, but they've already started some tournaments like that. But yeah, that does sound like it would be a simple solution, guys. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that would be a good solution? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. And one other thing, I see we have another guest appearance, somebody that wants to step up and speak their piece. Let me just check this poll real quick. I did start another poll. Let me just see if it's still up here and up and running, guys. All right, so this poll, how many forward-facing transducers are needed to dominate? We have 54% of you are saying 1. So, and I do agree with that. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. We have 14% are saying 4 or more. So they're saying, hey, you have to have about 6, 7, 8 forward-facing sonars. I guess they won't be forward-facing anymore. They'll be facing all around the boat once you get that many. All right, then we have 23% are saying 2. And I understand why there are people that are saying 2, because they're having 1 on that forward-facing sonar, like we just heard from Bible Belt Fishing. And they also have that 1 on landscape. All right, so let's go ahead and drop this down real quick. All right, big shout out to Stephen Evans. He is the current sponsor of the live stream. All right, so we have somebody else backstage that is cammed up and ready to go. So let's take a listen and see what Matt has to say. Big shout out to Matt. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Good, sir. I'm a huge fan of your channel, being retired Air Force, so I always try to support you.
All right, good deal.
Interesting. I have an Mega Live target lock on my Skeeter.
Okay.
And I just fished the Falcon Rod tournament, and my dad's got the Garmin with the LV34.
Oh, okay.
And I caught a couple dings. I could see stuff suspended. My dad placed in that tournament his Garmin. He could see the bass sitting on the bottom. I went literally.
Yeah.
After the tournament, I went up there. We went back to where he placed, and I was right beside him, and we did the Pepsi challenge.
Okay.
You would see nothing on my hummingbird.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to dog out hummingbird, but it is what it is. So I thought I'd throw that out there. So does it make a difference? 100%. And
right.
I fished exactly like he did. It's just he knew they were there, and I quit on them because I didn't think they were.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's all I have to say. I would say it's definitely a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I hear talk about the 360. I have the 360. I can tell you the 360 will show me structure. I struggle with seeing fish on it.
Right. Yeah, I do too. I've caught fish using the 360 like that. But yeah, it's you have to really have that thing dialed in for me at least.
Me too. But that's probably my skill set's not there. Now, as far as the forward-facing sonar, I went to Lake of the Ozarks, and we put about 50 bass in the boat. I let them all go. Just fishing boat docks.
Right.
Like James Watson would say.
You had to slide that one in there.
Hey, he's another veteran, right? I got to support my boy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I like him. I like the drill sergeants. For me, I like basic training. I have fun. I know a lot of people were in there crying and, and losing their minds. But, hey, I enjoy it.
That's all I got. I'll get off here so somebody else can talk. But I just do I think it makes a difference? 100%. I would like to see the pros have a tournament where they can't use it just to see how everybody stacks up.
Right.
I think it would make it interesting to watch.
Yeah. And did you watch any of the footage from the tournament that took place on Lake Lanier where it was no electronics? It was electronics, no practice, and they had some of the heavy hitters come down and participate in it.
I did not see it. I wasn't aware of it.
And guess what the weights were? 25. It was like 24, 25 pounds to a day to win it, something like that. I think he had like 40 something pounds won it with no practice. But the thing that people were saying, well, that was during bedding season type thing, because they were catching some of the fish on bed. But I know Emma Wagner, I was pronouncing his name wrong, but he was fishing offshore without forward-facing sonar, and he still, caught like 21 to 23 pounds, I believe, something like that. So he still, I think he came in third. Maybe it was third, but yeah, no electronics. So there are people out there that there is a market for it, but who's going to do it? And when I had Randy Blocken on the show, I was asking him like, hey, why don't you should be the face of that movement to have those type of tournaments out there, because there is there's a market for it. There's people who are interested in it.
Yeah. 100%. I was at Grand Lake, Oklahoma, the lake they had the Classic on, and I was fishing south of Sailboat Bridge toward Elk River, and the water has never been more beautiful. It was clear. I didn't catch crap. My dad was up there fishing junk. It just looked like trash, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to read, like, well, clearly, like, the good looking water wasn't what was working. But he was fishing junk, and he slayed. He called fish all day. Never called me on the cell phone or nothing, right?
Gotcha. Kept it to himself. Okay. Oh, man.
But I did that to him the previous tournament, so I guess I had that one coming.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. Well, I appreciate you coming up, sir. You are definitely welcome back anytime. Hey, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, step in, see what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
All right. Really. All right. Appreciate you. All right. Shout out to Matt, guys. He came up, spoke his piece. We have a few people coming in with a few things to say. All right. So let's see. Yeah. Okay. We can go ahead and end that poll. But how many forward-facing sonar transducers are needed to dominate? Looks like overwhelmingly people are saying 1. And I do agree with that. If you know how to use that 1, you can get out there and do some, what do they call it? Moping, scoping, sniping, all that kind of stuff. You can get out there with 1 and make it happen, guys, especially if you are putting in time on the water to make that happen. All right. So we have another contestant backstage that has a few things to say. All right, let's see. Let's give a big shout out to Tom. What is going on, sir? How are you doing?
Good, not too bad. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, I just happened to find your podcast here last week, and I guess I want to make you aware of it that myself and a individual by the name of Don Pfeiffer from Eagle River, Wisconsin, we were kind of the original fishermen that we're in opposition of using forward-facing radar, or excuse me, sonar.
Right.
Approximately 5 years ago, we had a seminar with Doug Wagner. For those of you guys that are in the muskie community, they know him fairly well. And we had some of the highest names within the muskie community, including Joe Bucher, Pete Mania, get on board with this test. And through the professional muskie tournament series last fall, the last 2 events did not allow any pre-practice or any sonar on the boat whatsoever. Their numbers dropped by more than 50%.
Wow, because people didn't want to participate without using it?
No, they had just as many anglers. The amount of fish caught and the size of the fish were actually reduced by 50%.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
So they've kept record over the last 25 years that the tournament series has been going on, and it was actually the lowest recorded numbers for the tournament series, any leg of the tournament series.
Wow.
So we know that the advancement of the technology has allowed, unskilled fishermen to basically go out there and be competitive amongst guys that do it on a daily basis.
Right.
So it is catching on. Approximately in November of last year, Don and I did a podcast, a very poor quality podcast that was picked up by the kind of the pros in the muskie tournament series.
Okay.
Including Pete Mania. I'm trying to think of the other individual's name now. The Gillespie family. They're very well known in the northern Minnesota region. They're good friends with Joe Bucher, and even Joe Bucher has now gotten on board of basically we're pushing all muskie tournaments to eliminate the use of any kind of side imaging or 360 forward-facing sonar.
Wow. Okay, because muskie, those get kind of big. What is it like an average weight of a muskie in a tournament? Because those are like,
it depends on what part of the country you're from and the strain of muskie. If you're in the Kentucky region, a typical average fish is in that 40-inch range, where if you get up to northern Minnesota or even Eagle Lake, your averages can be around that 47 to 50-inch range.
wow.
There's quite a few people in Canada now that are guides that are averaging 55 to 57 inches. Obviously, the world record, according to the Freshwater Hall of Fame, is 62 and a half, I believe. Lee Tauschen, if you are on YouTube, he's got Today's Angler. He was a guide up in Minnesota for like 20 years. He caught a 61 and a half on camera on Leech Lake.
Okay.
And he's even come out to the point now where he admits that for his 20 years of guiding, if he didn't have the advancement of technology with sonar, he could have never made a living at it.
Wow. So with those fish being that big, it would be kind of hard to not see those on 360 or forward-facing sonar or even sonar. Right. Yeah. So I can see how that is a wow. Yeah, I can see how that would definitely change the game with something like that. And certain species of fish are more susceptible to being caught with forward-facing sonar, especially when they're exposed like that. So
yeah, they're bigger targets. If you actually look on Doug Wagner's websites, he shows how to use the side imaging and how to actually define it down to a very fine display, to where he can tell you exactly how many inches off the bottom structure the fish is actually laying, and he can tell you how big the fish is just by the side imaging.
Wow.
So within even 20 to 30 foot of water, you can pick up detail on a muskie on a fish that's 35 plus inches. Okay.
All right. So with that, like how we were discussing earlier with the what did I call them? The mid school anglers, how they were using sonar, 360 side scan. So prior to forward facing sonar, was there a jump in the catches with that? Because how you're saying that this angler can use side scan and can easily locate and find the fish that way.
Yeah, both the 360 and the side imaging, they came out about the same time. So depending on the manufacturer that you that you like the most. I just had personally experience with the side imaging, and that was on, especially on Green Bay, the larger Great Lakes, the side imaging, because the fishermen are actually either trolling or they're fishing off the sides of the boat. They don't use the front 360. We're more of the bass fishermen, guys that are shotgun. That's what we call them. If you're by yourself in your boat and you're controlling the trolling motor with your foot or with your remote control, you don't even have to look at the water. You can literally look at your screen at the front of the boat and drive right to the fish. It's that accurate now with the 360. So if you're using a combination of the two, you can pinpoint a pebble the size of a quarter basically at the bottom structure all the way down to like 50 feet. So it's getting to the point now, the water is not the restriction of fishermen to be able to identify or even go get the fish. You can literally just drive to them. And since you had just brought it up about snagging fish, you can do that, because especially if you have larger fish like a muskie behind a structure or in between two rocks, you can literally drag a bucktail or anything right through there, and they don't even have to strike at it, and you can snag them. It's that accurate. Doug Wagner actually had a example of that. They were fishing at night. It wasn't like a lunar eclipse or something like that, but it was basically a cloud over, pitch black, where you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. But he was able to catch one of his personal bests. I believe it was a 59-inch muskie by using the side imaging, because you could actually see the fish come up behind his bucktail on the screen. And he did like 3 figure-8s and he caught the fish. So you don't even have to be able to visually see the water to be able to catch a fish anymore. It's no different than playing a game on, a Nintendo or some gaming system.
Man, okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing some of those videos where they're doing figure-8s, but I've seen the ones where they're actually visually seeing the fish and they start doing the figure-8s at the boat and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess if you can look and see it on the screen and you know that technique works, you don't necessarily need to see the fish as long as you know the fish is there.
Right. And it's kind of an extension off of ice fishing. Obviously the earlier versions of just vertical cone sonar, you can at least drop the jig or a minnow, whatever you're using, at the same depth as the fish, and you could see them come up and then get closer to the surface to actually take the bait. But those didn't have screens. They're basically just marking lines on your dial to tell what depth they're at. It has advanced so much just within about 7-8 years. It's basically made it possible for anybody to do, even if it's your first time on the water, you don't even know what you're doing, and you can go out and catch one of the largest predators of fresh water. So,
wow, okay, all right. So yeah, so you definitely have some fans in the chat that they're like, hey, he knows what he's talking about. But you did mention that you have a podcast or a YouTube channel.
Yes, my YouTube channel is called Approaching Target. That one, if you go to the live section, it's a 4-hour-long podcast. The video footage is atrocious. I record with my phone with no Wi-Fi, but the audio stays there. We get into the numbers for like stocking, also the forward-facing sonars, and we even talked to the DNR. So in Wisconsin, we last year we actually got the opening season for muskie to open statewide the same day. And now this year they've gone back to where it's split in the 2 regions. So between Donna and myself, we're contacting the state's Congress, the Department of Natural Resource Congress, and we're trying to convince them to actually make it state law that you cannot use forward-facing sonar unless you are a commercial business. So if you are a guide, you can use it, but in a tournament or every average day fisherman, you can't use sonar, period.
Okay.
So we're on the extreme end of things. We're both older guys. So we know that there's opposition out there to our thoughts. But even the professional muskie tournament series now has eliminated it. And I believe it's going into the bass community now. The walleye thing, everybody knows about the lead weights. It doesn't have as big of an advantage for walleye fishing because they're moving usually upstream when you're catching them, where muskies will lay dormant or under structure like bass will.
Right.
So it's not as big on the walleye population, but it definitely decimates the other species.
Gotcha. And so I noticed with say the walleye tournament, because you're talking about muskie, but with walleye tournament, from what I heard, they don't necessarily release those fish once they catch them because they bring them up from such deep water. So a lot of those fish, they don't get returned to the lake. Is it the same with muskie? Whenever they catch those, is that a catch and release type tournament, or
yes,
are those kept?
That is another topic that the muskie community is talking about, is the water temperature difference between 30 feet of water compared to surface water. Muskie are a lot more sensitive to their blood pressure, that even if you have them at boat side, calm down from after the catch, they're laying in water that's warmer than, say, if you were in suspended water.
Right.
So, for instance, if you're in Green Bay and you're catching the fish at 30 or 40 feet down, but you're letting it sit in the net, doing your release practices, they're in warmer temperature, just as if you had them out laying on the deck of the boat. So we're trying to bring awareness through multiple different steps to be conservatives of our entire fish population, not just muskies.
Right.
Especially with the Minocqua region, northwest or northeastern Wisconsin, for the last 8 years, you haven't not been able to keep a day's catch of walleye, period. You can't even target them. This year, they opened it up for anglers to keep one per year. In 8 years, they haven't reproduced enough to bring the population back. Okay. On top of that, one of the issues that we have in northern Wisconsin is obviously the tribal community spears, and they take out anywhere from 15 to 30,000 fish out of the same body of water. So it's very hard and difficult to keep and manage a good, healthy fish population.
Wow. So do you think that it should be taken into consideration so for instance, how the walleye tournaments, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, they do not catch and release those fish. So that will have a worse effect on that population of that particular fish. But from what you're saying, that they wouldn't be able to use forward-facing sonar to catch crappie. Well, I guess you call them crappie up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brim, catfish, so they wouldn't be able to use it for any fish. But where, say, for instance, say muskie, sounds like that whenever they catch those with or without forward-facing sonar, it's more detrimental to the health of that fish, even if it's being released. So do you think there should be some consideration taken for the different types of species, or just get rid of it altogether?
As fast as we can decimate the population of fish, there are natural things that are killing them off, whether that's algae, water quality from pollution. Obviously, man has a lot of effect on the fishing population. And in northern Wisconsin, it's a lot to do with tourism. So it's approximately $300 million a year in the northern half of the state that brings in the economies. When you have individuals that come up here only for a week on vacation and they have the technology, they're able to catch a fish, but they're not experienced enough to be able to release the muskies and know when not to go for them. Once the water temperature hits 80 degrees, you shouldn't be targeting muskie whatsoever. When it comes to walleye, we have a full month in the town just south of me. It's the Nakusa Walleye Days. Mm-hmm. It's the entire month of May, and this year they only had 3 fish over 28 inches registered. That's one of the lowest numbers we've had in the last 10 years. So even in our waters, we know that invasive species like zebra mussels, certain invasive weeds, they're lowering the oxygen level of the water, and also the amount of ice fishermen or just fishermen, anglers in general. They're keeping so many fish per the day. They're destroying the population so much that they can't reproduce enough to replenish themselves. And even though we're stocking basically every other year for walleye, our entire state's population of walleye is dropping drastically. It's the most in the Northwoods, but even now by Madison, through the Chicago area, the numbers are dropping drastically. Over the last, since 2004, we've stocked approximately 7,000 muskie into our local waters, and we had about 4 years of really good numbers.
Okay.
And now that we've lowered the amount of fish that we stock per year, now it's only about 300. We are noticing the fishing population, both of muskie and walleye, dropping. So there is some connection there. Most of it is from human interaction.
Okay.
So it's just the ability for people to go out and catch more fish is more detrimental to our conservation. So it's not a matter of people shouldn't be able to use it. Like I said, it's for commercial use. So if you are a guide and you have the moral direction of, okay, we're catching this fish, we're going to release it, you can still use it. But any kind of competition where money's involved in a tournament, you can't use them. That's what we're trying to get across. Even some of the local boat dealers with Mariner and Fond du Lac, trying to think of Humminbird, or not Humminbird. Man, I can't remember the boat manufacturer now. We're actually working in accordance with them that they do not offer the FFS on the boats directly from the factory. They're not going to equip them. You have to buy them as an additional unit. So your average person can't just go and get it equipped on the boat anymore. That's what we're trying to get past.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. So it sounds like this conversation goes a lot deeper than kind of the surface stuff that a lot of people have been touching on, especially when we start talking about different species of fish. And I guess from what you're saying, from your standpoint, that it's so detrimental and it's happening so fast, it just needs to be removed completely till you are able to get a handle or a grasp on how it may affect other species, whether it be catfish or brim or crappie or crappie, depending on where you're from. Right.
And I've honestly, with my military experience, I worked with the drone that the military uses to actually detect submarines.
Okay.
And I can actually take that technology now with the more modern day Humminbird. I can actually connect it to my drone and drag it through the water and cover the entire lake without even having to step foot on it. So it's advancing faster than what the Department of Natural Resources can do adjust to. So for the meantime, we need to basically step away from it. Like you said, get control of the population, and then maybe possibly bring it back in with additional training. Just like if you had a firearm, if you want to go hunting, you got to take hunter safety. So it brings people's awareness to be more conservative. Don't go out there and destroy our natural resource. That's the plainest way I can put it. And we kind of got to go to the extreme of removing that technology for the meantime, because it's decimating so much.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, definitely really interesting information. Appreciate you for coming up and sharing that, because that is definitely some information that I know a lot of people have not heard. So hey, I see them getting active in the comments. So go ahead and hop in there. You got some fans and some non-fans.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So hey, that's what we do over here. It's always, it's fine to have differences of opinions and everything. But you have a little more information than the average person. So you can definitely get in there and share some more of that knowledge with people.
Right. Yeah, they can tune in. I got to get going with my kids here. We just actually had a tornado go through, so I got to get them settled down. But yeah, if you want to take chances, if you're on Facebook, tune in to Fife on Fishing. It's spelled with a PH. He's got over 40 years of experience. He was the Muskies Incorporated president on Lake Winnebago for 20 plus years. Joe Bucher, again, has been in the industry, both bass fishing and muskie fishing, for close to 50 years now. Pete Mania has been doing this for 40, 50 plus years now. Larry Ramsell, he's actually the individual that if you catch a record fish, he is the only authorized individual to actually measure it. So he works for the Freshwater Hall of Fame. He's part of this group. So again, it's not just your average Joe guy that's been doing it for 20 years or might have been guiding the last 5 years. These guys did it for a living their entire life. So it wasn't a vacation time experience with them. That's what they did for a living. And when you have an individual like Joe Bucher come out and say, yeah, we need to do something about this, It's finally to the point where the conversation is being started. So like I said, I gotta get going with the kids, but you guys can check out Fife on Fishing on Facebook or the Approaching Target YouTube channel. In the live section, you'll find the 4-hour podcast, and then also check out things like the Doug Wagner or Pete Mania, the Gillespie podcast. That's done every Sunday morning. They're all discussing it. So you're amongst a large group of individuals covering this topic right now.
Okay. All right. So, hey, really big shout out to you. I appreciate you for coming up. You are welcome back to the show anytime. So, hey, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be here.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. There we go. Big shout out to Tom. Make sure you go and check out his channel, guys. Looks like he has some very great and interesting information. All right. So let's see. Let's hop back over here real quick. Let's see. All right, let's see who else we have. Okay, we have a friend of the channel coming up. Let's see what he has to say. Shout out to CT. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing okay. How about you, sir?
Hey, I'm out here making it. I'm making it. So we're getting some interesting information on this one. Something a little different than what we've heard before. So what are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Yeah, I agree with the last gentleman in part. Species like muskie, crappie, white bass, especially muskie. Muskie are so easily targeted because they're loners. They get to be so big, and they are so aggressive when you find them. As far as snagging them, I don't think so, only because the whole figure 8 thing he's talking about, that's all you have to do. If there's anybody knows anything about muskie, you get one to follow that's not sure, figure 8 him, he'll hit. But the reason why they call them the one in a 1,000, whatever it is, fish, is because they are such loners and they are so hard to locate. And when you get a big fish like that passing by your forward-facing sonar, it looks like you found, the Red October.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it just stands out like a sore thumb. But as far as snagging bass, it's what we have here is folks who are, it's the psychology of it, like it always is. It's folks that are see forward-facing sonar. They don't really have a real understanding of the science behind it, how it really works. They don't have it. They don't own it. You'll never see a person that says that they have it and they understand it that says, oh, I'm going to ruin the world's fisheries with it. No, because they get it. Like I've said time and time again before, how many times do we watch you chase a few fishies and not get bit, and you're good with it? Like you've proven, you are a genius with 2D. So you get that forward facing out there. I mean, it's just like icing on the cake for you.
Supposedly.
Allegedly. And it's like folks that are scared of it, that don't understand it, want it banned. And like everything else in life, that's not a good take.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's bad. Because then you're taking an uneducated opinion and you're forcing it on other people and cramming it down other people's throats and wanting to stop other people's way of life. And it's just like, why? It's like, how about learn it? How about put some time in, educate yourself on it?
Yeah.
And one thing that broke my brain, when the last gentleman said ban it except for commercial use.
Yes, I see.
I can't
disagree with that.
Yeah, I can't. To me, that's turning the wrong crank. That's saying, oh, okay, every Joe Blow, that's one thing, but everybody, how about the commercial fisheries? Does that include them? Oh, let's let them hammer it harder. And I mean, talk about something that could decimate populations. To me, it's just like it's running backwards. But it's absolutely I don't know. That just made me short circuit. A lot of what the gentleman though had to say, I agree with. There are certain species that don't adapt the same. Their physiology is completely different. Bass are completely different. Look at all the people wanting to outlaw the Alabama rig. And you know why that was? It wasn't because it was just tearing them up. It's because they couldn't afford the dadgum thing.
Well, I mean,
from
what I heard, there were like even like people that are doing it for a living, like the pros, they would say it puts more wear and tear on their body. So I've heard like several different.
Okay. Hold on. Let's follow that train of thought to what it was. I said last time when I said where my inside sources say bass is going to go with this. Wear and tear on the bodies. Okay.
Right.
So it's about what's happening to them on the water, right?
Right.
Just like having 4 or 5 screens, transducers, etc. on the pocketbook. People have been saying that, oh, they're getting it for free, they're getting it to cost. You and I both know that's not how it works. Reduced rate, absolutely. Free or cost, no. And like I said last time, for those who weren't here last time, Bass is thinking about knocking it back to one transducer per boat, because forward-facing sonar, that is, because the budgetary restraints on the anglers and what they do have to put out of their pocket, and it trickles all the way down to AAA for both bass and for Toyota and Opens, as far as those guys. You pull up to a dock next to somebody else for getting ready for takeoff, and he has 4 or 5 screens and you've got one. It's like already in your head that you can't compete that day. And you're going to stop participating if you feel like you have to buy more screens just to facilitate a level playing field. And one thing that we haven't talked about from the psychological aspect of this, you have everybody saying you can catch the same fish with old school methods that you can with forward-facing sonar. Then my question is, why aren't those anglers on that same water? Why don't you have 2 guys that have pre-fished, one with forward-facing sonar, one old school, and why do they not pull up to the same point? I mean, locating them, yes, but there's no little icon above the fish that says, hey, I'm active. I'll bite you right now. Drop it on my head, because it doesn't exist. So at the end of the day, it's a bunch to do about nothing. I mean, like anything else, does it have its drawbacks? Absolutely. And like I said, muskie, crappie, white bass. There's going to be not striper so much. Striper and hybrid, they're a bit different in their genetics. They also adapt to pressure. Not as good as largemouth and smallmouth, but they adapt. Yeah. So anyway,
all right.
But it's driving me crazy. It's nuts. But you'll see it reduced. You'll see it reduced because it puts money back in people's pockets, in the anglers' pockets, and it saves the sport from people bowing out because they feel like they don't have the money to compete with the guy next to them.
All right. Well, look, you always come on here and drop a lot of knowledge, cerebral tackle. Really appreciate you for coming up. Let me go ahead because we've been rolling for about 1.5 hours.
See you, brother. Take care.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You are welcome back anytime, sir. All right. So there we go, guys. Big shout out to CT. Make sure you go and check him out. But wait a minute. Stop the show, guys. What do we have here? Hold on. Wait a minute. Can I bring this up? Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me get it right. Let me put some respect on his name and all of that good stuff. If I can do this right. Hold on, guys. Just bear with me. This is a live show. And I see somebody came in here and they said, hey, you have to stop the show. I am the new sponsor of the show. We have the Condemned. We have the Condemned man checking in. He says, loving the channel growth, sir. Keep it up, making me want to buy a basic fishing rod and find some water somewhere to go fishing. All right. Big shout out to the Condemned. Hey, guys, you know, as I say, whoever gives the largest super chat or super sticker during the live stream is the sponsor of the live stream. So let me get in here and put some respect on his name. We have the Condemned man is now the sponsor of tonight's show. All right, so let's see. Let me get in here and get this right. So what I'm doing now, guys, is changing this banner to, if you take a look at the bottom of the screen, now you will see the banner. It now says, special thank you so much to the Condemned man. He just stepped in and see what we're talking about. I don't know. It will actually, he says he needs to go and get him a basic fishing rod. So as we see, he is not necessarily a fisherman, but he just wanted to tune in and, you know, so show some support for the channel. So really, really appreciate that. If you guys could, in the chat, drop the Condemned man in the chat. Want to give a big shout out for you. But hold on. Hold up, swole up. We have Joe Winkler. Joe Winkler stepped in and stepped up. He says, let me see, just to add to the fuel tank. All right, so it looks like we have a co-sponsor situation going on, guys. So let me hop back into this and do a little work. So we'll do a co-sponsor for this evening. So each week, whoever gives the largest super chat or super sticker during the live stream is the sponsor of the live stream. And we have another $20 super chat from Joe Winkler. So guys, if you take a look at the bottom of the screen, it says special thank you so much to the sponsor of the stream. We have the Condemned man and Joe Winkler. Very, very strong supporters of the channel, guys. Really, really appreciate that. Let me hop back over here real quick. Get my spot back. Okay, so there we go, guys. So big shout out. We have a co-sponsorship going on. We have the Condemned man, and we also have Joe Winkler. And let's see. The Condemned man says, loving the channel growth, sir. Keep it up, making me want to buy a basic fishing rod and find some water somewhere. So maybe he can go out there and catch him a few muskie or catfish. Maybe you should start off with some catfishing. How about that? All right, then we have Joe Winkler. He says, just to add to the fuel tank. Big shout out to the sponsors of tonight's live stream and everybody that is tuning in and participating in the chat. Really, really appreciate the support, guys. All right, so let's hop back over here into the chat real quick. All right, there we go. Big shout out to, we have Big Wheel Reeling and Chilling, a new member of the Money Team. And guys, the members of the Money Team are the members of the channel. So anytime you hear me referring to the people as the Money Team, that's who they are. The people that you see that have the badges right next to their name. And if you are interested in supporting the channel and becoming a member, just click the join button down below. The link is also pinned to the top of the chat if you want to take a look at it and see what kind of perks come along with being a member of the channel. All right, we want to give another big shout out to a member of the channel. We have Chappie stepping back in, says, hey everyone, had to mod some storm chasing, rewinding to the beginning. Oh yeah, all right, so maybe you'll get to this point soon and see that you got your shout out. All right, so really appreciate you and support, appreciate all of the members of the Money Team. And there was another thing that I told you guys I was going to play. So Randy Blockett did have something to say on this topic, of course. So let me go ahead and let you guys hear what that is. All right, so yeah, it seems as though he may have known some things or could kind of see into the future just a little bit, to see what you guys were going to be, you know, what was going to be happening with some things. And maybe we weren't really believing him, but now we see he has some back. And he's like, hey, there's some people that are being kind of quiet that he wished they'd speak up. And so now they've been speaking up. So now let's take a listen and see what Randy was actually saying about this topic. And also, before I play that, I did mention in that poll, how many transducers does it take? How many forward-facing transducers does it take to quote unquote dominate on these topics? I mean, on these tournaments. And I think Randy Blockett would agree with me when I say the answer is 1. All it takes is 1 if you really know how to use it. So let's see what he has to say. And just keep that in mind. I think that is kind of what he is touching on and why he says some of the things that he says. Let's listen in.
And unless I'm just completely off on this and everybody else, they're going to make some changes in the rules next year. And this is probably what they're going to do. They're probably going to reduce the number of units you can have on the boat. They're probably going to reduce the total number of screen size. They're probably going to reduce the number of Livescope transducers on it, but they're still going to allow it. That's not going to change crap. It's not going to change anything, because the next year it's going to be the same thing. The spotlighters are still going to use their one Livescope with their one transducer, dominate the tournaments, and it's not going to accomplish anything. And eventually people are going to see this, and it's going to get banned from the tournaments. It's going to happen. It's got to happen. If it doesn't, Bassmaster and MLF are shooting themselves in the knee with this thing. They're going to undermine their own success and their own sustainability and their own business model if they do not get rid of this crap, just like what every other sport has realized. And again, we've talked about this over and over again. It's obvious what's going on here. It's not the fact that the technology is like there and it's great and all this type of stuff. It's because of money.
All right, so there we go, guys. So Randy Blockett, he has spoken on this topic also. And keep in mind, what he is saying is to get rid of all of it. So I think he would agree that if you have one, there are people out there that can make things happen. The same way that someone can have side imaging, person A can have side imaging, person B can have side imaging. This person A, they may be able to do some things and make that side imaging do some things that person B does not even think of. I think that is kind of what happened with forward-facing sonar, because once we saw people that were able to go out there and follow schools around, schools of bait fish, and wait for those big fish, those big 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus pound fish, and they could kind of follow it around and wait till that fish was ready and kind of coax that fish into biting. That would, to me, is one of the techniques that's, I mean, they kind of make it easy, make it look easy by the way that they're doing it. But I mean, I've tried it and it just doesn't work for me. But there are people that are able to use this technology in ways that other people just cannot. And yeah, I mean, we're just seeing the effects of that, guys. All right, let's see. What do you guys think? So we've gone through, had a good evening with this. And also, I did want to mention, always make sure you guys check the links in the description. I always try to put information of value that I think will help you out, whether it's on the water safety or products that are having good sales. One of which right now is solar bat glasses. They have a lot of different styles of glasses that are available, guys, with a lot of different tints. And the thing to keep in mind is the military. You definitely have discounts available to you. Always use the code MoneyBass and you will get free shipping with that. And right now there is a 25% sale going on. And there's, like I said, a lot of different frames, different lenses available. My favorite, which I love to use when I'm using my forward-facing sonar, I'm running Mega Live, is the yellow tint. I can't remember the exact name of it, but you'll see it if you go to the site. But just always make sure you use the code MoneyBass whenever you go to the link that is in the description. All right, guys. So it looks like we have one more person backstage that I've been wanting to actually talk to for a minute. We have C219 Troll. What is going on, sir? How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Money? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. So you are the king crappie fisherman out here winning tournaments and finally decided to hit the link and come on up.
Yeah, man. You know, I try to catch your show and your videos every chance I get, man. You got some great content.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and a lot of things, you know, I'm a crappie fisherman.
Right.
Both meanings of those words.
I don't know about that one, because I've seen you coming in giving your shout outs about the tournaments that you're out there winning.
Oh yeah. I fished one on Lake Oconee Saturday. We came in third.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, on the Livescope thing, man, the crappie guys, as far as the tournament trailers, we're 100% in on it. And if you don't have it, you're really fishing for 10th place.
Not 10th place.
Yeah, you're fishing for 10th place.
You're not even gonna get second place.
No. It's only certain times of the year, maybe when they're spawning up on the banks, and if you can find some big females, maybe you can catch them like trolling or something. But any other time of the year, man, if you ain't scoping, you're hoping.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little about the crappie fishing tournaments, because I've never done one of those tournaments. So is it a 5-fish format, or can you keep, like, I've heard something like you can keep 7 fish in the live well, but you bring 5 to the weigh-in, or how does that work?
The one I fished Saturday, the National Crappie League, we weighed in 5 fish, but you could have 7 in the live well.
Okay.
And I think the reasoning behind that is, if you have a fish that die on you or something like that. But then there's some trails that still weigh in 7 fish, and you can have how many ever you want in the live well. But I think most of the guys now are going to the 5 fish limit, which is challenging because a lot of the weights are real close.
Okay.
So every little speck of water definitely counts.
Yeah. All right. And so with those tournaments, do you catch and release those fish, or do people, because generally I've never really heard of people catching crappie and releasing them unless they have just got their limit and they just keep catching them for fun and releasing them. I guess you can do that, right? Like, so how does that work? Do you guys generally release them in the tournaments, or do you keep them and go ahead?
Most of the tournaments I fished, whatever you catch, you can keep. But a lot of times what happened is, like, the tournament director will tell everybody, hey, if you don't want your fish, put them in this cooler, and I'm going to give them to, a family or families that, could use them.
Gotcha.
So they definitely not going to waste. And I could talk about bass fishermen releasing fish, but I don't want to go there.
Go ahead. Listen, you can go ahead and put it out there and let them hop on you in the chat.
Okay, yeah, they'll jump on me. Okay, so Clark's Hill is my home lake.
Okay.
I've been fishing in well over 20 years. And a few years ago, I just rode up to the lake, just to be driving around. I was bored. And I watched a bass club weigh in fish. And it wasn't it was like early summer, so it was pretty warm down here.
Mm-hmm.
And they were releasing all their fish right there at the boat ramp. Well, I was sitting there watching them, and I counted about 25 fish that was stone cold dead. I mean, they weren't nowhere near live.
Man, and they just put them back instead of keeping them.
Yeah, right there at the boat ramp too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up to the tournament director. I said, hey, man, y'all releasing dead fish. And what he told me was it was their rules that they had to release the fish. So I get in a full Karen mode, right? So I'm emailing DNR. I know a few of those guys. And what the DNR told me, as long as they catch the fish legally, they can do whatever they want to with them after that. And that really surprised me.
Right.
To me, it's not a good look. I mean, you got families that come into the lake, and I don't think they want to see 20 and 30 dead fish floating there.
Right.
Crappie tournaments do it too. There was a big video out a few years ago where they released crappie, man, like every one of them died. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible. I mean, it was a terrible look. I hated to see that, but yeah, that's my little story on that. I'm not gonna but
yeah, I mean, and that's why I was asking goodness, I can't remember his name now, that came up, and he was talking about the muskie fishing. And like, do they keep those or release them? So with crappie fishing, that what you said was what I was thinking, that they actually don't, for the most part, release those fish. Do you think that over time, with so many of those fish being caught, and how crappie is one of the species of fish that a lot of people talk about whenever they say how it makes those like easy, it sounds similar to what they're saying about muskie, to where it will be easy to go in and just kind of knock those fish out. And now, since they're not being released, that it even it's more detrimental to that species. I mean, what have you found, or what do you guys talk about that as far as the
these lakes I fished, these big huge reservoirs, I don't see it happening. It's not hurting the fish at all.
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at it, the state limit is 30. It don't tell you how to catch them. As long as you catch them legally, it's 30.
Gotcha.
So now, if you got a bunch of people out there breaking the law, then maybe. But I don't think it's affecting them all. We are catching bigger fish, but I mean, the biologists will tell you that fish was probably on his last year anyway.
Right. So, yeah, I've heard something like that too. Once they get to a certain size.
Yeah. So he'll die, and you know, before he would probably die, nobody would ever see him. And now we're catching those humongous crappie, especially like between November and February. It's just phenomenal with big crappie. I mean, it's unreal, and I just don't see it affecting, you know, the big lakes I fish. Now, if you're on a small impoundment, like I heard that happen in a small lake in Mississippi. I don't remember the name of it, but I heard it happen there. I don't think it's happening in Grenada, which, if you know anything about crappie fishing, that's like world renowned for real big fish. It's not hurting that lake at all, from what I see. So yeah, crappie, they just so prolific that I just don't. I mean, I've seen schools of fish, and most people don't believe me when I say it. I seen a school of fish one time that was 40 foot long and about 10 foot deep, all crappie.
Wow.
And I got pictures of it, and I ain't gonna catch that many fish in 25 years. And that was just one school.
Right.
You know? And so I just don't see it happening, man. And just because you got the technology, you still got to get them to bite. Yesterday evening, as an example, a guy texted me. I was at work, and he was like, "Man, I found this pocket and had suspended crappie in it, and I was wearing them out. So I couldn't wait to get off work. Went up there, and I seen them, and they were suspended, and they were crappie. I caught 2 of the hundreds I've seen. So you ain't gonna catch them just because you got Livescope.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I'm glad you finally came up. I mean, I got to learn a little bit about, because I know you put me up on Instagram a few times, but I couldn't find your name in my on my list. I'm not really good at using Instagram. When someone sends me a message, it's real easy for me to find. But if I go and try to find it to send somebody, but yeah, I really appreciate you coming up. Definitely, you are always welcome back anytime, sir.
Hey, whenever you want to convert to real fishing, man, just let me know. We'll get you on some practice.
Hey, we might have to make that happen.
Hey, cause I watched the video. You was live fishing against this guy, and I was like, man, they ain't catching nothing. And then I'd be looking at the fish. I'm like, man, them crappie, put on the crappie jig.
Oh yeah, when I'm showing you the screen of the fish. Yeah.
I'm like, man, them crappie right there. You put on the crappie jig, you'll wear them out.
And you convinced me that I was keeping a little crappie rod on my boat with the little jig, but I need to link up with you 1 or 2 times so I can actually see how to catch those things.
Yeah, man, anytime, man.
All right. Really appreciate you for coming up, sir. All right. Big shout out to C219 Troll, guys. You guys have now finally seen him up on the screen. All right. So look, we've been rolling for about 1 hour and 45 minutes, pushing 2 hours, guys. So I really, really appreciate everybody that stayed tuned in, watched it to the end and participated in the live stream. And hey, I do have to give a few big shout outs to the sponsors of the live stream. We want to give a big shout out to, let's see. Let me make sure I put some respect on his name. We have Joe Winkler. Big shout out to Joe Winkler. Hit the channel with the $20 super chat. And he is a member of the Money Team. Really, really appreciate the strong support of the channel. And also, we had the Condemned Man. Step in. Really, really appreciate it. The co-sponsor of the live stream. And then we had somebody step in and give oh, wait a second. It was Maggie. We had Maggie, the substitute teacher. Let me just find that real quick. Like I said, I always want to give credit where credit is due. If you take the time to, support the channel, you do not have to do that. So I always want to make sure that I put some respect on your name, give you a few shout outs. But yeah, big, strong shout out to the sponsors of tonight's live stream, the Condemned Man and Joe Winkler. And man, you guys have definitely been getting active in the chat. I'm just scrolling through here, seeing all of these different messages. So I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate the strong support of the channel. But yeah, let me give a quick shout out to Maggie, the substitute teacher. And also, who was there we go, Stephen Evans. There we go. Couldn't leave you out. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. All right, guys. We have been rolling for about 1.5 hours. Well, actually 1 hour and 50 minutes. This has definitely been an interesting conversation. I appreciate everyone that has hit that live call-in link. That is something that we try to do a little different over here, guys. We want to hear the differences of opinions because that allows us to grow and find value in what we have to offer. And you never know. Sometimes you may learn something. So you may come in thinking one way, may hear a little bit of something else, and may kind of change your mind and your opinions on things. Or not. You just never know. But yeah, really, really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you are back again on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we get together and just, go over some things and share some thoughts and interesting opinions. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next live.